It's not really that good when you take a look at it. U.S. autism rate, the TISM is now up to 1 in 30, okay, in the mid-60s. Autism rate, that's remarkably difficult to say. Maybe I'm on the spectrum as well. Who knows? Don't care. 1 in 10,000. By 2012, it had shot up to 1 in 88. Sorry, 1. Okay. 2016, it was 1 in 68, and now it's 1 in 30. All right, so how did we get here? Like it says in a little blurb up top, okay, blamed on improved diagnosis and genetics. Is this kind of like a royal family situation where you got, like a certain non-differentiation when it comes to genetics? Or we got something different going on here? Now, yet they are attempting to hide the real source. This substance snuck into many foods. It's almost impossible to avoid, which appears to be true. Is it sugar that destroys the gut biome? Because there's a lot of research that also says and links gut biome health to curing a bunch of theoretically incurable diseases, okay, a lot of autoimmune disorders, and then again also dealing with a lot of the TISM. So let's take a look. In the mid-60s autism rate, we already talked about that. According to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the dramatic uptick is in part due to improved and more comprehensive identification and diagnosis. However, improved diagnosis alone cannot explain this trend. Yeah, no, exactly. From testing them, it's like, okay, so how quickly can you solve a Rubik's Cube? Okay, and then having a little bit more sophisticated methods by the time of 2012. It was like, oh, okay, cool. According to an October 2020 scientific review, the journal Seminars in Pediatric Neurology, several lines of evidence implicate mitochondria in the pathophysiology words of autism spectrum disorder, ASD. For years, autism was believed to be due to genetics, but empirical studies have proven genetic predispositions play a very small role. Okay, cool. So if you have a father who just likes to stare on the front or stand on the front porch and just stare off into oblivion, his autism might have nothing to do with yours. Good to know. Okay. The authors point to novel abnormalities in mitochondrial function that have been found in autistic children, and the fact that treatments targeting mitochondrial dysfunction, such as L-carnitine, I supplement with, I think I even got a fresh bottle. Let me check. I'll keep everybody entertained for a moment. I'm just going to go take a look over here. I do love me some L-carnitine. Yeah, I do, buddy. Yeah, I do. I haven't tried this specific brand before, but yeah, no, I got me some L-carnitine. I highly recommend it. I think it's great stuff. I've been using it for years. So if you think that I'm on the spectrum, you're just, you're off. You're off. Nobody likes somebody who's wrong all the time, okay? But no, it's great. So using that could keep you thinking clearly and focused, but not too focused, because isn't that also on the spectrum? And a ketogenic diet. Hey, wait a minute. I do both of those things. That's awesome. Have been fruitful. Cool. I'm not a mess up. Ha, cool. In 2007, approximately 4% of autistic children could be diagnosed with a definite mitochondrial disease. More recent investigations looking at mitochondrial biomarkers and electron transportation chain activity suggest mitochondrial abnormalities may be involved in as many as 80% of cases. Biomarkers of mitochondrial dysfunction include elevated levels of lactate, pyruvate, aniline, creatine kinase, ubiquinone, acetylcarnates, and carnitine, low levels being an indication of dysfunction. Good to know. Children whose autism is rooted in mitochondrial dysfunction will typically have a set of symptoms that include fatigability, gastrointestinal disorders, seizures and or epilepsy, motor delay and or ataxia and or muscle weakness, unusual neurodevelopment regression, including multiple regressions or regression later than commonly associated with ASD. So, now that we know some of the markers, well, what's the deal with this mitochondrial overactivity? Okay, well, classic mitochondrial disease is defined, at least in part, by severe deficits in electron transport chain activity. In children with ASD, mitochondrial dysfunction tends to involve overactivity, so they all just kind of get played out. That would make a little bit more sense. We have shown that about 1/3 of LCLs, lymphoblastoid cell lines, derived from children with ASD repeatedly show elevated respiratory Okay. Rates approximately 200% of controls for respiratory parameters associated with adenosine triphosphate production. Yes, ATP, what the mitochondria produces in order for you to do things. Layman's terms only. Okay, gentlemen, we need to keep this at a certain level. We have also demonstrated the consequences of elevated respiratory rates. Specifically, the subset of ASD LCLs are more sensitive to acute exposure to reactive oxygen species, such as respiratory rates, drop precipitously with acute increase in ROS, reactive oxygen species. We hypothesize these changes represent an adaptive response to previous environmental exposures, a phenomenon known as mitoplasticity. So how tactile and malleable said mitochondria are? Interesting. This supports this hypothesis. I was going to say hypothesis, but that would be stupid. We demonstrated that elevated respiratory rates can be induced with LCLs with prolonged exposure, 96 hours, interesting, to mild ROS, a microenvironment that stimulates the effect of environmental toxicants and mitochondria. Additionally, we have demonstrated the subset of LCLs. All of that stuff is boring. Okay, so important nutritional supplements. So how do you avoid this stuff? Obviously, L-carnitine supplementation, ketogenic diets, all the stuff that we talk about a ton on the channel. I don't know if I've done anything specifically on L-carnitine, but maybe I will in the future, if I haven't already. Just food for thought for a minute. A review of 4 studies found that 18% of children saw significant improvement on a ketogenic diet. 40% moderate, 32% mild, 8% experiencing worsening of their symptoms. Are you doing it right? Are you eating poorly? And then other things are manifesting as well? Because it's really easy to do keto wrong, but again, okay, I guess they were probably at least, monitored a little closely if they're doing proper studies. It's a review of 4 studies, after all. In the case where ASD is caused by mitochondrial dysfunction, however, supplementing specific cofactors become important. The good news is every kind of supplementation is very safe and well tolerated. Yeah, that's why I'd recommend L-carnitine for anybody who's just looking to shed the additional, fat or anything like that. Just kind of stimulate that with a non-stimulant factor on it. I just throw it in with proteins as well, or with my protein shake, and it's like that just works fine alongside a bunch of other electrolytes as well. So that's a way that I've worked it in for a long time. So you could do the exact same thing, and there's absolutely no downside in any of that. So of course there always could be, but those are for outlier cases. Among the most important nutritional cofactors are B vitamins, B3, 2, 7, 1, 6, 5, 12 and 9. I'm sure the rest of them are probably fine there as well. Coenzyme Q10 or reduced form ubiquinol. Hey, we talked about coenzyme Q10 not that long ago. It's another one that I also supplement with as well. I think I got enough. Hey, you know what? Hey, we're doing show and tell today, and I'll just show you all of my additional stock that I have, of course, because hell, why not at this point? Like I said before, use Kirkland supplements all the time as well. And I got the, what is this one? The extra strength one. Nah, it's fine. There's 2 different ones. This one was on sale, and they keep for a long time. So, again, recommend all of it, as per usual. And try to keep this nice and organized. I got a little stock because I don't like to run out when it comes to my supplements. I like to keep on the up and up. L-carnitine or acetyl L-carnitine, and yeah, again, it's very cheap. Like, these aren't expensive. Coenzyme Q10 can be expensive sometime or another, but for the most part, none of this stuff is terribly expensive. Creatine monohydrate, and yeah, no. When that stuff first hit the market, like, it was in everything, and it was really low quality stuff, so you would retain water terribly on that stuff. But I know it's been refined and you get higher quality creatine monohydrate that's out there. So yeah, if you're so inclined, if you just want the additional strength boost that's out there, and realistically, there's no downside when it comes to that stuff. Like if you just load it up to begin with so that you get enough that's in your muscles. Normally you can get creatine monohydrate by eating muscle meats of different animals that's out there, but it's just minute traces out there because it's really hard to get outside of supplementation. Alpha linoleic acid, that's what you normally get. That's the ALAs. Those are the ones that you get get in your fish oils and stuff like that. It's a good anti-inflammatory as well. So on top of helping you out with the old think right, it'll also help with your just overall inflammation problems as well. Vitamin E, vitamin C, acetyl L-cysteine, NAC. Haven't heard of that one. I'll have to take a look at that. Okay. And finally, zinc. I know we did zinc not that long ago. Zinc is awesome and important. And again, it'll help a lot with different sicknesses and illnesses. So I guess just add autism on top of that as well. So benefits of l-carnitine and coenzyme Q10. We can go with, carnitine is one of the most widely studied. Yeah, that one's been around for a very, very, very long time as the supplementation sphere has changed throughout the years. Like I've been using supplements on and off. I've had my cycle. I've pretty much tried all of the major ones that are out there. Know what's garbage, know what's fine, but L-carnitine has been around forever. It's an essential amino acid, okay? That's hence the L designation that's on there, okay? So yeah, it's natural to the body, and then adding it on top of that, there's no side effects really, okay? 2 medium-sized, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies using L-carnitine treatment found that scores in the Children Autism Rating Scale CARS, nice, improved with L-carnitine as compared to placebo, with one study finding a greater symptomatic improvement was correlated with a greater increase in blood carnitine levels. Small 8-week open-label trial of L-carnitine used particularly high doses, maximum of 6,000 milligrams daily. And again, you could. That's just a lot, okay? Because your normal daily dose is going to be 100 milligrams or something like that. Maybe 2 or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. I could get my... no, I've done enough show and tell. That's fine. Coenzyme Q10 has also been used as well and studied, and also showed improvements in communication, interactions, sleep, and food rejection. Yeah, no, exactly. Helps with the ticker, helps with the mind. Autism and autoimmunity. There's the link I was looking for. Increasing evidence. Here's from a paper in 2009, okay, titled Autoimmunity in Autism. Increasing evidence of autoimmune phenomenon is in individuals with autism could represent the presence of altered or inappropriate immune responses in this disorder, and the immune system dysfunction may represent novel targets for treatment. Furthermore, in recent studies, antibodies directed against the fetal brain have been detected in some mothers of children with autism. These antibodies have the ability to alter behavioral outcomes in the offspring of animal models. Research published in 2013 found that more than 1 in 10 mothers of autistic children had antibodies associated with autoimmunity that adversely reacts with proteins in the brain of the baby, resulting in ASD. The authors point out that any activation of the mother's immune system might lead to an increased risk of the child with ASD. Interesting. Women in particular are suffering neurological dysfunctions as a result of the jab. Interesting. Are they? How might the spike protein affect offspring? Do we need to touch on that, or is it just kind of obvious? Toxic chemicals implicated in the autism: lead, methylmercury, polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, all right, organophosphate pesticides, including glyphosate, organocholine pesticides, a lot of pesticides I'm seeing here, endocrine disrupting chemicals, anything that would mess with your hormones, that makes sense, automotive exhaust, don't be sucking on a tailpipe, unless, of course, you're certain elected officials. Anyways, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, brominated flame retardants. Well, I think that we're talking about different type of retardants. Perfluorinated compounds, yes, PFPs, but those have mostly been just discontinued. That was mostly in your aerosols and stuff like that, but a lot of those were just phased out around the same time that you heard all of the crazes about BPAs and all of that kind of fun stuff. Yeah, PFPs were pretty much done away with at the same time, okay? Anywho, glyphosate is the likely key culprit. It disrupts your gut microbiome. Yes, of course. Okay. Impairs peristalsis, a feature that is exceedingly common in children with autism. Inhibits bile acid release by impairing gallbladder contraction. Many autistic children have a very pale stool. Why are you looking, weirdos? Suggestive of low bile acid levels. Okay. Impairs digestive enzymes. Yeah, no, exactly. Glyphosate is a chemical sprayed on a lot of foods that are out there. So yeah, wash off your stuff before you eat it, or just go legitimately organic, not like organic TM, because kind of a marketing term in some form or fashion. Anyways, another potential trigger for maternal gut inflammation is... Oh, I'm sorry, that is. Oh, okay, so during pregnancy, maternal gut inflammation. Oh, okay, infection during pregnancy with elevated levels of cytokine IL-17A may yield microbiome alterations that prime offspring for aberrant immune responses. Lots of technical terms. Wonderful, fantastic. And I'm glossing over this stuff. You might see some, very prevalent virus that's out there and a specific jab. Just gonna gloss over that for obvious reasons, because you get close to that stuff, things magically start to disappear out there. So autism is a multi-factor condition. Yeah, no, exactly. A number of other culprits could also be named, such as retroviruses, electromagnetic field exposure. Yeah, don't keep your kid too close to the microwave. That could be bad. According to Judy Mikovits, sure, a PhD, she's an expert, a retrovirus family known as xenotropic Merlin leukemia virus. Yeah, that sounds bad. XMRVs play a casual role in autism. Disturbingly, one of the XMRVs is contaminated childhood vaccines. Oh, what could you possibly mean? Mikovits details the history in her book, Plague, one scientist's intrepid search for the truth about human retroviruses and chronic fatigue syndrome, autism, and other diseases. Yeah, no, exactly. Feel free to read there if you want some unedited, uncensored, probably base takes when it comes to that stuff. But hey, when it comes to figuring out that maybe it's just tired out cells that's kind of causing the autism, that's interesting. So we figured out different ways to do the best that you can through just regular supplementation and proper habits, ketogenic diet, supplementing with coenzyme Q10 and l-carnitine as well, and a whole host of other readily accessible, very cheap, good vitamins and minerals out there. Hey, man, I consider that a big W, because considering the fact that the autism rates continue to go up, and hey, you can either deal with it or just, hey, eat a handful of pills, I'll take the more natural route. And hey, at least the one that I have control over if anything were to happen, of course. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. Just follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.